The invitation to my parents' 40th anniversary dinner sat on my desk, its gold embossing gleaming under my office lights. Not my real office, the penthouse suite at Wilson Ventures, but the small consulting space I maintained to keep up appearances with my family. The dinner was tonight, and in exactly 2 hours, Bloomberg would announce my latest acquisition, a $80 million tech startup that would transform my company's digital portfolio. Not that my family knew I owned Wilson Ventures. To them, I was just Sophia Mitchell, the daughter who settled for running a small consulting business instead of joining the family law firm. My brother Andrew's text flashed on my phone. Don't forget 7 p.m. sharp. Try to look successful for once. Dad invited the senior partners. I smiled, adjusting my simple black dress, a custom Valentino without the obvious branding my family preferred. They had no idea that while they were building their prestigious law practice, I'd quietly built a venture capital empire worth over $500 million. The Mitchell family events were always exercises in status display, held at the most exclusive venues in Boston. Tonight, my parents had rented out the entire top floor of the Beacon Hill Club. As my driver pulled up to the entrance, I could see Andrew's new Tesla parked prominently by the door. Ms. Wilson, the driver said quietly, using my professional name, my mother's maiden name. Would you like me to wait? No need, James. But be ready for some interesting news alerts around 9. The club's marble foyer echoed with familiar voices, partners from my father's firm, family friends, and relatives all gathered to celebrate the Mitchell family's success. Or at least their version of success. Sophia. My mother's voice carried across the room, a hint of perpetual disappointment hidden beneath her warm tone. Darling, we weren't sure you'd make it. Still busy with your, what are you calling it now? Consulting practice. I accepted her air kiss, catching the scent of her signature perfume. Something like that, Mom. Well, she patted my arm consolingly, at least you're working. Though if you'd just taken the position at the firm. Mom, I cut her off gently, we've been through this. She sighed, adjusting her diamond necklace. I just worry about your future, dear. You're 35. It's time to think about stability. I thought about the stack of merger documents waiting on my real desk, the billions in assets under my management, the empire I'd built while they weren't watching. Andrew appeared, champagne in hand, his new Rolex catching the light. Little sister. Still playing entrepreneur. Hello, Andrew. I accepted the glass he offered. How's the firm? Expanding. He grinned. Dad's making me managing partner next month. Youngest in the firm's history. Congratulations. You know, he leaned in, cologne heavy in the air, that offer to join the firm still stands. Junior associate position. You'd have to work your way up, of course, but it's better than. He waved his hand vaguely, whatever it is you're doing. I sipped my champagne, thinking of the news that would break in less than 2 hours. I'm happy where I am. Happy isn't the same as successful. My father's voice came from behind me. Though I suppose small business ownership has its charms. I turned to face him. Richard Mitchell, Boston's most prominent corporate lawyer, looked exactly as he always did. Perfectly tailored suit, carefully styled gray hair, confidence bordering on arrogance. Hi, Dad. Happy anniversary. He nodded, studying my simple dress with barely concealed disappointment. You could have worn the Gucci I bought you for Christmas. This is more my style. Yes, he sighed. That's always been the problem, hasn't it? Your style never quite matched the Mitchell standard. The room was filling up with guests, law partners, judges, the elite of Boston's legal community. All here to celebrate my parents' marriage and, more importantly, the success of Mitchell and Associates. Richard, a senior partner, approached, crystal tumbler in hand. Quite a turnout. The whole legal community is here. My father beamed. William, have you met my daughter? The lawyer. William asked. No, my father's smile tightened slightly. That's Andrew. This is Sophia. She has a small consulting business. Ah. William's interest visibly dimmed. How nice. Speaking of business, heard anything about that Wilson Ventures deal? Word is they're announcing something big tonight. I hid my smile behind my glass. What deal is that? Some major tech acquisition. Sarah Wilson's been making waves in the venture capital world. Brilliant woman, very private. No one even knows what she looks like. My father shrugged. We handle some peripheral legal work for them. Small stuff. They use Goldman for the major deals. Actually, I used his firm for basic contracts precisely so they wouldn't look too closely at the CEO's identity. Another small deception in a life full of them. Speaking of deals, Andrew cut in, wait until you hear about the merger I just closed. Biggest in firm history. The conversation shifted as it always did, to Andrew's achievements. I checked my phone 1 hour until the announcement. My mother clinked her glass, calling everyone to dinner. The Mitchell anniversary dinners were always elaborate affairs, but this year they'd outdone themselves. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, tables groaning with expensive wines and gourmet food. Before we begin, my father stood raising his glass. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. 40 years ago I married the love of my life, and together we built not just a family but a legacy. Applause rippled through the room. My mother beamed. And that legacy continues, he went on. Our son Andrew, soon to be the youngest managing partner in firm history. Following in my footsteps, building on the Mitchell name. More applause. Andrew stood basking in the attention. And of course, my father's voice softened slightly, our daughter Sophia, who chose a different path. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken disappointment. A small business owner, he continued, trying to sound proud and failing. Which is admirable in its own way. I checked my phone again. 45 minutes. Really, Sophia, my mother whispered from beside me, you could at least pretend to be interested in your father's speech. Oh, I am, I assured her. I'm just waiting for something. Another client for your little consulting firm? Andrew smirked. Something like that. The dinner proceeded as these events always did. Partners discussed cases, judges shared war stories, everyone celebrated the mighty Mitchell legacy. I sat quietly watching the time tick down. You know, Andrew said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, the firm's junior associate salary is probably triple what you make in a year, Sophia. Just saying. Probably, I agreed mildly. I just hate seeing you waste your potential, he continued. You could be part of something big, not just consulting. I checked my phone one last time. 5 minutes. Actually, I said quietly, I am part of something big. Very big. Your 3-person office in Cambridge? He laughed. That's not exactly Mitchell and Associates. No, I agreed. It's much, much bigger. My father overheard us. Sophia, please. Not everyone can handle the pressure of real business. There's no shame in staying small. I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress. Would you all excuse me for a moment? I need to make a call. Now, my mother frowned. During your father's anniversary dinner? Trust me, I smiled. You'll want me to take this call. As I walked toward the door, I heard Andrew's voice, just a small business owner trying to play with the big kids. I paused, turning back. You might want to turn on CNBC, brother dear. Something interesting is about to happen. The confusion on his face was just the beginning. The real show was about to start. I stood in the club's elegant hallway watching the seconds tick down on my phone. Right on schedule, breaking news alerts started flooding in. Wilson Ventures acquires TechFusion for $80 million. Sarah Wilson's latest acquisition shakes tech industry. Venture capital queen strikes again. Wilson Ventures expands digital portfolio. Inside the dining room, I heard the first gasp. Someone had CNBC running on their phone. Breaking news. The anchor's voice carried through the open door. In a stunning move, venture capital powerhouse Wilson Ventures has acquired artificial intelligence startup TechFusion for $80 million. Sarah Wilson, the mysterious CEO who's built a $500 million empire, continues to reshape the tech investment landscape. I walked back into the room just as Andrew choked on his wine. My father stood frozen, his anniversary speech forgotten. On 3 different phones, my face appeared on the screen, a professional headshot released with the announcement, captioned Sarah Wilson, CEO of Wilson Ventures. Sophia. My mother's voice was barely a whisper. What is this? I took my seat calmly, picking up my wine glass. This? Just another day at my small business. The room erupted in chaos. Law partners who'd dismissed me moments ago suddenly couldn't take their eyes off me. Judges who'd barely acknowledged my existence were now leaning forward, hanging on every movement. You're Sarah Wilson? William, the senior partner, stammered. But that's impossible. Wilson Ventures is worth $500 million, I finished for him. Give or take a few million. Mother's maiden name, by the way. Though none of you ever paid attention to that side of the family. Andrew's face had gone from red to white. All this time, while we thought you were just running a small consulting firm? I smiled. Yes, that was the point. Though if you'd ever actually visited my little office in Cambridge, you might have noticed it was just a front. My father found his voice. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at him steadily. Would you have believed me? When have you ever believed I could succeed at anything bigger than small business ownership? But he glanced at his phone where the news was still breaking. You're one of the most successful venture capitalists in the country. Yes, I agreed. And I did it without the Mitchell name. Without your connections. Without your approval. My mother's hand shook as she reached for her water glass. Darling, if we'd known. You'd have what? I asked quietly. Treated me differently? Respected me? Seen me as something more than the disappointment who wouldn't join the family firm. The string quartet had stopped playing. Every eye in the room was on our table. My father's carefully orchestrated anniversary dinner had become something else entirely. The firm, Andrew said suddenly. All those small contracts Wilson Ventures sends us. Were a convenience, I finished. A way to keep you just close enough not to look too closely. Though I must say your billing rates are rather high for basic contract work. William leaned forward. Sarah, I mean Sophia, we should discuss moving your major deals to Mitchell & Associates. Now that we know. No, I cut him off. I don't mix family with business. That was made very clear to me when I turned down the junior associate position. My father winced at the reminder. Sophia, surely we can. What? I raised an eyebrow. Start over? Pretend you didn't spend years dismissing everything I built? That an hour ago you weren't apologizing to your guests for my different path? The news alerts kept coming. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from journalists, investors, and suddenly interested family members. I silenced it without looking. I don't understand, my mother said. All these years living in that small apartment, driving that modest car. Because I don't need to show off my success, I replied. I don't need everyone to know how much money I have or what I've achieved. That's the difference between us, isn't it? You measure success by what others see. I measure it by what I build. Andrew stood up abruptly. I need a drink. Sit down, I said firmly. For once in your life, listen to your little sister. The one you thought needed your career advice an hour ago. He sank back into his chair, face flushed with embarrassment. Tomorrow, I continued, the markets will open and Wilson Ventures stock will rise again. Your law firm will get calls from clients asking about your connection to me. People will want to know how the Mitchells produced such a successful daughter. And what should we tell them? My father asked quietly. The truth, I smiled. That you had no idea. That while you were busy building your law firm and protecting the Mitchell name, your daughter built something bigger. Without your help, your connections, or your approval. I stood up, smoothing my simple dress. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a merger to finalize. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. The dinner was lovely. Wait, my mother called out. Please, can we talk about this? As a family. I turned back one last time. We are talking about it. For the first time in years, you're actually hearing me. Isn't it interesting what $500 million can do for a conversation? As I walked out, I heard Andrew mutter, Jesus Christ, my little sister is Sarah Wilson. My driver was waiting outside, a knowing smile on his face. Home, Ms. Wilson? No, I checked my phone, seeing 47 missed calls from family members. To the office. The real one. The next morning, I sat in my penthouse office at Wilson Ventures, watching the market reaction to the TechFusion acquisition. Our stock was up 15% in the first hour of trading. My assistant buzzed in. Your father's here. And your brother. And 3 senior partners from Mitchell & Associates. I smiled, straightening the nameplate on my desk. Sarah Wilson. Tell them I'm in a meeting. They can make an appointment like everyone else. And your mother? She's called 6 times. Tell her I'm busy. Running a small business takes a lot of work, you know. I turned to the window, looking out over the city I'd conquered while they weren't watching. My phone buzzed with a text from Andrew. "Can we talk? Please?" I had no idea. I typed back. Neither did anyone else. That was the point. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about succeeding so quietly, so completely that when they finally realize the truth, it's already too late to pretend they believed in you all along. And as I sat there reading the flood of news coverage about the brilliant and mysterious Sarah Wilson, I couldn't help but think that sometimes the best revenge isn't telling people how successful you are. It's letting them discover it themselves, preferably while choking on their expensive wine at their own celebration.